Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pylon Show. My name is Apoptosis, and once again, I will be your Apop hostess. Today, we're going to be discussing some super exciting news. There's a new StarCraft 2 patch, if you haven't heard. It's short, it's sweet, or is it bitter? We're going to talk all about that, but first, I do want to talk to you guys about something a bit more serious. Right now, as you all know, the world is locked on watching this horrible war that's going on in Ukraine and that they're going through right now. We wanted to use our little slice of the world, our voice, for the best thing that we can, which is to promote some charities. We have some links for you guys that we have verified as to going and assisting the Ukraine people at this time. And we would ask if you guys could check it out. We're going to be posting that in the chat. We're going to be posting that in the description below. But we just want to send out our hearts and our prayers to everybody that's going through this difficult time in Ukraine right now. And if you want to learn more, I know that there are some community members. Neuro, you have done a couple of videos on the topic as well. What were those about exactly? What were those videos you did?
So I have a regular running world discussion segment every Sunday evening at about 6 p.m. Pacific time. And ever since the Ukraine conflict started, we've been covering that as the primary focus. And then the other main thing that we did was there's a friend of the community who he's been a viewer for a long time, hangs out, chats, and so on. He's in downtown Kyiv. And we did an interview with him, which Cobra will provide a link for in the chat, which is just a one-on-one, getting his perspective with his feet on the ground with his family, how he's feeling, what they have to do being there. It's very surreal because most of us haven't been in a country where there is active war. So we're just trying to be supportive of them. Kind of hearing his story was really big for him to know that the world cares. I think that's something that even if you don't have the means to support Ukraine financially, if you can just kind of hear their story and what they're going through, it makes them feel like they're not alone and they have a voice, which is really big. So shout out to Bitter Sugar for coming on and having an interview with me in the midst of the conflict. That was really big. And it has subtitles too, because the audio was a little bit scuffed due to needing to use a mobile phone. A lot of people have been basically preparing to evacuate right away if they need to. So his computer is disassembled and he's at a moment's notice ready to escape if he has to. So it's very much an active tension situation over there. But I did get an update from him this morning. He's still all right, hanging in there. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I think that's super cool that you're providing a voice to somebody who otherwise would not necessarily be able to speak out on what's going on and be able to talk to the world like that. So definitely check out those video guys. I've watched them. It's really kind of crazy and, like you said, surreal to hear about it. But yeah, we're going to be posting those links in the chat. We'll have them in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. But please, if you can, try to help out as much as you can. Again, thank you, Neuro, for providing those links and for letting us link those to everybody as well. I do want to now introduce our wonderful guests that we have, and let's go ahead and talk about some StarCraft 2. Today, we are joined by, let me just go through the room here, Vindicta. I see you're first on my screen, so you're getting the first introduction. Man, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you, first of all.
Nice to meet you as well. Nice to be here with everyone, having a good time, eating some goldies. Some good old cheddar goldfish.
I had a cheddar morning as well. I made some mac and cheese and just put some bacon in that, so I think we're both on the cheese list today.
Mac and cheese for breakfast?
For breakfast, well, it's lunch where I'm at, but I guess. Do you think the first meal of the day, no matter what time, is it breakfast? I mean, this is an important topic. So, is that breakfast? If you wake up at 5 p.m. and you have like a steak dinner, is that your breakfast or is that dinner?
Yes, 100%.
That's your breakfast, yeah.
That's breakfast. Okay, all right. I'm outnumbered. I understand.
The word is breakfast. It's when you break your fast that you had while you were sleeping.
Okay. All right, fine. People with your logic and
no judgment, but
higher understanding
No
of apparently the way.
But mac and cheese for breakfast is weird.
All right, well, fine. I'm fine with it. I don't mind if I eat some weird stuff.
I support you on it. I do it too.
Thank you, ViBE. Let's go to ViBE, the coolest person on the episode right now. ViBE, how you doing, man? It is wonderful to see you, buddy. I see you're in. Man, your background is like the nicest of us all. I don't know if you actually see where you're at.
Yeah, I just I just leased this place. It's pretty nice.
Mm.
After this, I'm gonna take a dip and go swimming in the ocean. It's all good. But yeah, I'm pretty good, man. I'm chilling. It's nice. It's finally, or like where I live, the snow just stopped happening, so it's actually like not super cold right now. So it's pretty good.
Nice.
I'm chilling.
Yeah, we're getting up to the 50s where I'm at, and I'm actually also like right next door to where Neuro is, so it's been really, really getting nice here. Is it still super cold there, but it's just not snowing?
Yeah, it's getting warmer. It's not bad.
Okay.
It's nice weather. It's good.
All right, fair enough. Neuro, we kind of chatted a little bit earlier, man, but how are you doing? Are you going for runs? What did you eat for breakfast, since apparently you're so knowledgeable on the topic?
I had oats with blueberries, and I'm having black coffee now. What do you want?
Yeah, of course you did. All right, let's go ahead and talk to Stephano. Hopefully somebody who is a bit more of a degen like me. Stephano, it's nice to meet you too, man. How are you
Nice to
doing
meet
right now?
you. Absolutely great. First time on the Pylon Show, strangely enough. But it's about time to get here. And on the matter of breakfast, I
Yeah.
had just a glass of water. That's a good grab.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Do you normally go for breakfast, or you skip it? You go for just some
No.
drinks?
I just brush my teeth and get a bit of the
Mm.
toothpaste in. That's enough.
I like to call that you had a big gulp of air for breakfast, and that was you kind of just got on with your day. Awesome, man. Well, you have some other stuff going on as well, right? I mean, I have heard through the grapevines and have seen it on Twitter, of course, that the Nation War 7 is coming back. Is that right?
Absolutely. So we are in the process of starting Nation War 7 right now. The sign up already started, so you can go online and check it out, nationwars.tv. I think we've got
Okay.
about 60 players right now signed up, but ideally we'd get a maximum amount of countries, so it truly represents the War of the Nations, right? Not just a subset of it. And yeah, it's been exciting to be on the other side of the creation of a project like that, because I'm working with O Gaming right now as a web dev.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, it's been interesting to be the guy who struggles before the tournament happens instead of the star who comes in late and just complains about everything. Right now, I just I do take a lot of shit in. I have to live with it, right? The extreme opposite.
Yeah, and tell me, is it online only? I know that Katowice they were able to do an offline sort of event as well, where they actually had a venue. Are you guys doing online still? Are you gonna try to get a venue for this as well?
So right now, we are planning to do it offline in our studio.
Nice.
We have quite big studios in Paris, and the finals only will be online. So all the
Okay.
qualifier stage and I think round of 8 will be offline, and the round of 4 will start offline. And yeah, we have the planning there for the qualifiers and the offline phases. And we still have some spot open for people if they want to join in and participate or watch the tournament live. And we actually created a nice video. I think it's half in French, half in English, but a music video to welcome back the fact that live events are back. It's starting again. We can remove the masks and live normally again. I don't know if you have it, Cobra, the music video. It's a bit cringe, possibly, but
Oh,
good luck.
it's not cringe at all. It's so cool. I watched it so many
Did you?
times. It's not cringe. It's not cringe. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I can get a quick link of that to Cobra Venom. But where, for the people who can't fly to Paris, where should we try to check this out? Where can we watch it online, and where can we support for this tournament that we're so excited to have come
Right now
back?
we have a crowdfunding going on. It's the link should be somewhere here. I don't know if I have to post it on the chat or
Yeah, you can go ahead and post
Cobra
it if you have it
has
handy.
Yes, I do. Oh, I'm not a follower, man, so I can't post.
Oh no!
Oh,
What
Called
the
out!
failure.
Ouch!
I-
Oh no! Okay, Cobra covered you. We have it. I think that's the one right there.
Yeah. So we have a couple of premium spots left for just attending the tournament and being there during the final phases. Then you have like some specific ones where for some specific contributions you can get dinners with the players and all other really interesting custom things you can get from us. And right now we have 40 offline spots left, so don't fight for it, but it can be cool to come to the tournament and see Stephano working while being drunk and being stressed out. That's a one in a time thing. I'm not sure if I'll be able to participate because the tournament format has changed a little bit. So the issues we had with the previous tournaments was the fact that one team was carried out by one player and it was enough to go to the finals and even win the tournament. And it didn't really represent the fact that a nation won. It was more like a player won or made a nation win, and that was a bit of a shame. So we started thinking about it, and we thought that incorporating a bit of a 2 versus 2 in it would be a way to counterbalance that. And it might be a bit risky or strange. I don't know what you think about it, guys, but for me, it's a way to get some new exciting and unpredictable things happening in matches because you don't really have a meta setup, right, in 2v2. And you have to be innovative about it and really think about how you want to play, discover the maps in 2v2. And you can have some unexpected results coming out of it. Even though 2 players are playing against 2 medium players or 2 good players against 2 medium players, 2v2 can be rather random on that. Like it doesn't really respect your level that much, I want to say, because I did play at one time at a 4v4 tournament in Korea when I was in a gaming house there, and we were beaten up by players which were, I think, low masters. So it was a bit strange, but yeah, it's a way to make it interesting. And to test a bit the format, we have a 2v2 tournament coming up. It's happening on the 29th of this month until the 3rd of April. And we have quite a good roster right now. And yeah, it's just to test out the format, see how it's done, if the fans like it, if it's interesting, exciting, or if it's just like, or there's just one strat to play and we keep playing the strat. I don't know. Like for me, StarCraft right now seems to be very set up in terms of meta. You don't really have that much innovation anymore. Like you can have all-ins or unexpected strategies, but it's globally set up. And with the 2v2, we can have just like, we don't really know what to expect. So it's going to be a fun, interesting addition, I think.
I agree with you there. I'm excited to check it out. Well, guys, make sure you check out Nation War 7 coming up. And when is that happening? Like, is there already a date and time set for that?
We have a timeline. So like right now, the signing up phase is open, and it's open until the 30th of March.
Okay.
So you have about until the 20th of March. So you have about a week to sign up.
About a week to do it. Okay.
Yeah, a week. And then we're gonna have the voting phases. So the format, as I said, is 2 players only. So we're gonna vote for the captain, and the captain is gonna pick his second player, basically. So
okay.
It's a bit different from the previous editions. And yeah, 10 days of voting phases. Then we have the 2v2 tournament, and then the tournament will start. I think we have an asset for the date, 11 and 12 of June for the qualifiers, and so on and so on and so on. So it's gonna be long, exciting, and very stressful for me, but I'm excited to see what's gonna happen from it. But again, a few spots left in the crowdfunding, so make sure to check it out, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely, guys. Make sure to check it out. Nation War 7 coming up soon. I'm super excited for that. I think that's gonna be great, man. You're gonna kill it. You don't need to be stressed. It's fine.
I hope so. I hope
no
so.
problem.
I'm a junior after all, man. I'm a junior, so lots of responsibilities, very low skills. So makes it a very dangerous combo, I guess. Yeah. And yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, man. Guys, I don't know if you've heard. I mean, there was a little bit of StarCraft 2 news recently that we got a patch. That has happened. We're it's official. I don't know when the release date is, but it's on the PTR. People are testing it out right now. I think a really awesome place to start with that would be to just read it. It's not very long. I'm sure you guys have read it multiple times. I'm sure you've each talked about it with your respective either chats or your friends or whatever. But do I have any volunteers for people who want to read it, or do I have to pick someone from the class?
Can I preface this real quick with just how
Yes.
the patch came to be?
Yes, please
'Cause
do. Give me the lore.
I was really shocked that there was a patch because a lot of people know StarCraft patches died out 4,000 years ago.
Mhm.
And many people were like, how would someone make a patch if there hasn't been a dev team in 4,000 years? There was actually a glacier in Northern California that was kind of sloped down this mountain. And there was a StarCraft dev who was frozen in the side of this glacier with a little piece of paper that just had the notes for some potential rough draft of a next patch. And they found this guy, just some hikers found him, and they thawed him out. And he was like, I'm ready to bring the patch up. And they're like, what patch? StarCraft 2 hasn't been patched for 4,000 years. This guy, he's alive. It's crazy. So I'm really excited for this scene. It's something that many of us didn't expect, but there was just that happenstance.
So he's always been there and always been listening, but not really speaking up.
Yeah, well, he's frozen in ice. It's hard to speak up when you're frozen
Okay.
And people tell me that global warming is a bad thing. Look at what it got us, man. It thawed out the last remaining StarCraft 2 dev and got him to patch the game. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this is it right here. Well, Neuro, thank you, man. I did not know at all that that's how that happened, but I'm happy you're here joining us since you have apparently insider information that nobody else in the entire world has.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. I can go ahead and I'll read it, and then I want to talk about it. So it's like 8 changes. It reads like more of a minor patch change, but everybody is treating it like a major because, yeah, like you said, I think the last patch was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Was that the last one? Do you guys remember exactly what time?
2019.
2019? Okay, yeah, so 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's when they buffed the Void Ray.
That is when they buffed it.
I etched that in stone.
That was we were all expecting that was going to be the last one ever, and it was like, okay, saddle up. This is what we got. Okay, so for Protoss, they're making 4 changes. The shield battery starting energy is going to be reduced from 100 to 50 outside of the next field. So we'll have to figure out what next field
The
means
Nexus
exactly.
is. I'm assuming it means the Nexus range.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they meant. But I guess while we were able to get somebody to put the patch on, we couldn't afford to get spell check for them, or rather, their spell check is too good. I'm not.
He just came out of ice. Okay, he's gonna make some typos.
Dark Templar now have a 0.75 second attack delay after blink. Void Ray, this is one of the big ones. Void Ray, the build time has been increased from 37 seconds to 43, and the mineral cost has been increased from 200 to 250. So if I am correct, it's a complete revision on the build time and the cost to what it was before the last patch, but the speed is staying the same. So speed and flex veins is staying the same. A major change with queens that they can no longer transfuse off creep completely. Widow Mine reduced the effectiveness of drilling claws from 0.71 seconds to 1.07. Same thing with lurkers and adaptive talons, so just slowing down the burrow speed of both of those. And then the Nidus Worm now has creep starting increases the starting creep by 1 unit in each direction around the worm once it spawns. Okay, so not too many things, but before we get into the nitty gritty of it, is any patch at this point a good thing regardless of how much you agree or disagree with it, or should we be more concerned about exactly what they're changing? ViBE, what do you think?
It's nice to be noticed.
It is.
A lot of us felt like we were just left in the dust, and there was a Microsoft acquisition, and we were like, is there someone who's going to care? Are they going to go into the office? Are they going to make any posts or any indication that they're alive and they recognize that we still play this game? So I think for a lot of us, just to see that activity is happening, there was someone in the office. What? Yeah. So
and apparently they're listening. Because they mention in the patch notes, there's a community of StarCraft 2 people that they want to recognize and shout out, but they did not recognize nor shout out. So it's just like a shadow community and organization that controls StarCraft 2 from the background.
I feel like it's one
Yeah.
of those safe acknowledgments where you don't miss somebody and you're like, oh well, we
Mhm.
forgot to name that person.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good patch though. I think it addresses like a lot of current meta that's happening, and it doesn't overly the way I've talked about it on my stream with people just in general whenever they ask like what my generic opinion on it is I don't think it over nerfs anything to the point to where it's not viable. It just makes old builds that were overused harder to do by a little bit, or maybe a little bit, like depending on how big the nerf of the buff was. It just makes the old builds that are still viable a little bit harder to do. So you get, I feel like it's just going to encourage more variety in gameplay, which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. How do you feel ViBE specifically on this one? I usually find it interesting when people say they're either incentivized to do other builds because of either positive changes, like they buffed a unit, so like, hey, let's make that now. Obviously, that was the case with the Void Ray before, where they buffed the build time, they buffed the how much it costs, they buffed the speed, and so now people are like, oh, that might look good. That might be a good thing to make. Or incentivizing you to do other things because they nerfed that thing you were doing. What are your feelings on that? Like, do you prefer one way or the other, or
I don't think it's good when people or like when the balance team over nerfs or over buff something to like steer you in one direction, and they're like, oh yeah, you should make this now. This is the new meta. You play this because it's like overpowered. That's why I think this patch is so good, is because I think it encourages you to feel like you don't. It makes you feel like you have options. I feel like more than did before. Like I don't know. For me, as I'll just use Protoss, even though I'm not even a Protoss player, but I'll use it as an example because it's like one of the hot topics for like a lot of Zergs and what they think with like Skytoss and stuff. But I feel like, from my perspective, a Protoss player who goes either for like straight up Skytoss with like using voids and then straight up Sky like after that, or a Protoss player who just goes for massive amounts of adepts, were like two of the most common ways you would see Protoss be played. But then you would get these like offshoot Protosses every once in a while that would be like a robo style player where they'd have like Disruptor drop, or they do like some weird Colossus timing and stuff like that. And I feel like this kind of a patch, it just kind of addresses some of the stuff that gets overused, and it kind of levels it out a little bit more. So I think you're going to see, I feel like there might be a new meta, or like the current meta still stays the same more or less, but for certain things. But you'll just, I feel like it'll just encourage more variety. So I think the way they did it this time is super good because it's not over nerfing anything, in my opinion.
So you think it's like, hey, those other builds, they're like legitimate. You guys should maybe like, we don't need to buff that because they're good. Like you're saying, like the Disruptor drops or Colossus drops, whatever. But hey, you guys are like really hard focused on this one thing right now because it's like super good or something. I don't know. So you think they're just they're leveling it out. So okay, okay, I dig that. I dig it. Vindicta, I'm actually curious, man. I mean, Terran got touched like the least in this. Do you think they're coming out ahead of it? Like, I don't understand at all the Terran perspective. Can you, like, from that end of it, look at this and tell me, like, is Terran just like, oh, hell yeah, this is great? Or are they kind of just, who cares?
I think for the most part, people are pretty happy about it. I think it just addresses a lot of the annoying things like we talked about earlier that are kind of happening. Like, I think for most people, like, just off the bat, like super annoying things. I think we're just mostly in TVP that people had trouble with, like Proxy Void Ray or Blink DT. Like those have been like the really big things that people, most Terran players, probably just all Terran players really have just been complaining about. So I think it does address some of the more annoying stuff, and I think it doesn't change the matchup too much per se. Maybe just not too sure about the Blink DT specifically, and then. With the Terran stuff, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of Terran changes. The What Am I change is not too terrible, and I actually kind of like it because I feel like a lot of pro Zergs weren't playing Mutiling Bane just because they favored the Lurker, and then playing against Mines is really annoying as a Zerg player. So I think it will add, like Vi mentioned, it will add a bit of variety back into the game. But yeah, not too many Terran changes, so can't complain about that.
Yeah, I guess not. And you know what? I didn't even think about the TVP, how Proxy Void Ray is such a thing. And they kind of are nerfing that a bit twice because not only are they going to now have less shield battery energy starting, Is there a world where they make a Nexus there now? Has that ever happened? Is that like a thing?
No way, no way.
No way? You don't
No
think
way.
so? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
No way.
Only in the Florencio files.
You haven't played enough 2v2, I see, Stephano.
In the
Okay,
dark
all right.
recesses of Mid Diamond, there will be Protoss.
Yeah.
They will commit. They'll see the patch and they'll be like, now they would never suspect it.
They would never get it. Yeah, no, this is value, guys. If I make 6 shield batteries, that's like I get 3 for free. If I make a Nexus, it's actually it's efficient here, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
We can only hope seeing that. Neuro, give me your Zerg take on it.
So I was honestly, when the patch was announced, I was having a pretty tough week. And you know, you like wake up in the morning, you check your social media, whatever, check your Discord, and there are a bunch of people in my Discord who were like, StarCraft got patched and Void Rays were nerfed. And I was like, I died. Fuck. And I went to heaven. And then I realized I wasn't dead, and that actually happened. And I'm super thrilled. I guess the context for me is I'm not a pro gamer like Stephano or whatever, not as high level as Vindicta. So for me, being in like mid GM, it's a huge quality of life improvement because I'm surrounded by Protoss who spam Void Rays. So for that value curve to be changed is super convenient and amazing. Basically, the Void Ray in ZVP allows Protoss to take a third base super easily with just one Void Ray hovering over it. And you can't really harass that very efficiently. You're mainly just supposed to scout and play it out longer term. And then the ability to flex into either ground or air, it just makes Protoss feel like they're kind of ahead in the early mid. Obviously, I can improve as a player, but it's pretty tough. And it was something that you're facing almost every game, it feels like. And we have a pretty heavy representation of Protoss on the GM ladder in both NA and EU. So for that department of changing the way the GM plays out, it's super awesome. That's definitely the change that I'm the most excited about. The Queen Transfuse change feels kind of weird, but I think it's something that we can adapt to. I'm honestly also excited just to see how this mixes up the meta a little bit, because since I'm not a career tournament player, the results don't really matter as much as the content and the fun. So having any change basically is super good for any streamer, because now they have something that's more fresh that they get to share and talk about and experiment with. Like people are going to try Nidus builds more because the Nidus is being nerfed or being buffed a little bit to offset the Queen nerf. That'll be pretty fun. Mines being changed, it might mean that people try Lingbane Meta a little bit more. One of the things that has caused me to shy away from it is a lot of Terran players are pretty comfortable just going double factory mine production. And it feels like playing Muta, you have to be extremely good and make very few mistakes to make that work, as opposed to Hydra, which you can just kind of spam. So having the lurker be nerfed a little bit and the mine be nerfed a little bit, you might see a little bit more Lingbane Muta kind of styles. But yeah, I'm super stoked. Overall, I'm very happy with the patch.
Yeah, I haven't really talked to anybody that's been super unhappy about it. I will say, I don't know if I just have maybe, like, I'm trying to think of it because I know none of us here are like Protoss mains, and we apparently all the Protoss mains, they just went into they're in grief counseling right now, so we couldn't really get any of them to come onto the show. I'm trying to think about it from their perspective, and I do does anyone else think it's a little strange that they just nerf Protoss all around, but Protoss still hasn't won like a pro level tournament in a while?
No,
like I thought that was weird personally, but
that's exactly what they would say when
that is the propaganda right now.
When Neuro was like, "This is a high representation of Protoss and GM and NA and U," I was like, "But there's none for winning tournaments."
There's none win tournaments. Yeah, like
you know,
yeah, that is a bit confusing to me, and it almost makes me think: are they patching this more for the ladder, or do you think it's at the pro level, or is it a bit of both? I mean, I don't play at the pro level at all, so I have no clue.
I mean, I had no influence on any of these patch changes. I wasn't part of that group that was appreciated for their input, but I do believe that this is probably an opinion of a lot of players. I think Protoss, though, Protoss just is like the most annoying race that everybody hates. So they, you know, they're always going to get lots of hate.
Oh gosh,
5 unfiltered.
The case in that situation, it wasn't that Protoss was imbalanced. It was that it was blocking the state of the game. So people could
Mhm.
deal with it, but we would always find ourselves in the same situation, going late game and playing that exact same game again and again and again. And yeah, lack of diversity and just annoying to play. And some people struggle with it, but at the pro level, it wasn't considered imbalanced, just very, very, very boring to play against. So it's a good challenge, and I think it's a good challenge for the Protoss because even themselves, I think at some degree would agree that some degree would agree that it's inherently good that we steer them out of that position where it's easier for them to play a style which is not interesting instead of
Mhm.
forcing them to do stuff which is more dynamic and more engaging. It's better for them and it's better for the viewers, so it's more effort for them, so they keep improving and getting better. If you just give an
Mhm.
easy solution that anyone can apply, it's harder to actually improve, right? Where everybody would kind of adapt to you and keep improving. They would be just stuck in that situation where it never moves on for them. So it's a good thing, I think, even for Protoss in a way that this goes away. It had to, it had to go away. It had to.
I
Well,
had the
it certainly
question
didn't
too.
have to, but I'm glad it is. Though I will say that much.
I had the question too of like more of an existential StarCraft question because a
Mhm.
lot of viewers were coming into my stream after the patch was announced and they're like, "But Neuro, why did Protoss get nerfed? We didn't win IEM Katowice." And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, well, is it possible for a player to win a tournament and for them to do that with skill rather than that their race was overpowered? Like, was Cyril actually the best player in the tournament? Or was Zerg that broken once again?
So okay, yeah. I mean, and that's basically the impossible question, right? Is like
Thank you, Nero.
is it? Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to toe the line here. I'm trying to remain as neutral as possible. Obviously, my Zerg brain is really like excited and pogging out of control because Void Rays are getting super banned and super nerfed. And that ZVP meta, kind of like exactly what you're saying, Stephano. When I would see ZVPs and in tournament play, I would just pray that it didn't go past like 10 minutes because I know what that is going to look like at the end of at the end of all that. And basically, if Protoss for the whole game decided, nah, I'm just actually going to sit back, I'm going to turtle up, I'm going to put down a million shield banners, I'm going to put down a million cannons. Zerg was in sort of this really weird place where it just wasn't advantageous to attack them ever because you're now just attacking into a bunch of static and it was just more likely and much higher probability to win to take a whole bunch of bases, expand, try to control the map and mine the whole map out, which was like a 30-40 minute adventure that would end up in this weird stalemate that just didn't really seem like either player was having fun. And as I know as a viewer, I certainly wasn't having very much fun. So are you thinking this is now that Void Rays are getting nerfed? I guess this is the most roundabout way to ask this question. Do you guys think it is going to force them to make more sort of mid game, maybe robotics bay, robotics facility type units, or are they going to try? Do you think Void Ray is still going to be around? Basically, is actually my question here.
I do. Uh, I guess
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I also preface by saying uh, I am not at like a top level pro, so my opinion might
Sure.
be terrible. But yeah, no, I feel like as Protoss, like Void Ray allows you to have so much safety when you open, just against the Zerg specifically, because it's so easy to stay alive from a lot of different potential types of timing attacks and all-ins that can hit you. So I feel like Void Ray is still going to be a super solid opening choice, and it also can do a lot of pressure where you can force Zerg to react by playing more defensive with it, or you can like set up even builds where you could get really crazy with it, and you can like deny scouting and maybe transition to something that Zerg might not expect. So I feel like
Mhm.
Stargate will still be around, but I don't think it's going to be like every game is going to be a Stargate opener, pretty much.
Yeah, I know that when the patch first hit, I don't know what your guys' experience was, but Protoss on the ladder were just like have abandoned Void Ray completely, even though it's not nerfed yet, because everybody's scrambling to try to figure out what that new sort of stable opener is going to be. Because yeah, Void Ray was just such a like a easy. You have a bit of harass if you want to do harass. You have that safety if you want to take an early third. Now, if we can remember the time before the Void Ray nerf, I know it was, or before the Void Ray buff, which is, I know it was so long ago. What was the game state with Protoss back then? Where were they? Because I am
Wh-
trying
which
to
era?
recall. Well, just
There's-
like think of pre-Void Ray buff, like right before it. What did that
Okay.
look like?
A lot of the openings were more Adept Oracle based rather than Void Ray based. And they would be
Mhm.
more active on the map with the Oracle in many cases. Sometimes you would have a lazy Protoss who just puts their Oracle at their third and they take it early and just sit there, which is
Mhm.
kind of similar to how a Void Ray plays out. But I think the Oracle as a unit is a little bit more exciting and interactive for both the Protoss using it and the Zerg defending against it. Like you can create more small and interesting edges. Stasis traps are more exciting than Void Ray Harass. Like getting some worker pickups going between the base with the Oracle is pretty cool. Little queen 1v1s that they can have and then win and get a little edge there. That to me was more interesting than the Void Ray opening, which is just more of like a clump of air value that you're going to have to defend at one of your bases at some point, and you're trying to fill vision and get enough queens in position to deal with that. And also, if we're looking at previous metas of Protoss versus Zerg, for a while their ground upgrades were like the main focus of the matchup, where they would just be chrono boosting their forge for +1 attack into +2 attack of like Charge Lot Archon Immortal into Storm, and they would have these ground based timings at like +1, +2, +3, and they ended up, I think, nerfing the time that upgrade was researched, I believe. But it used to be a lot more ground focused in ZVP.
From anything that I can remember, like literally my recollection of ZVP personally pre Void Ray, so what would that be? PVR was it was like like every single game was a 2 base all in from Protoss. And if they did enough damage, they could expand and take a third, and if they didn't, then they would just lose.
Yeah.
But I am excited to see, because I think a lot of Protoss are really kind of getting comfortable and used to being able to take that third. What is like an alternative for them besides the Void Ray so that they can secure that third?
I think Adepts are amazing. I honestly think Adept is this is my opinion, but I think Adept is probably going to become one of the main openers for Protoss. Adept is so good at controlling, like it forces a Zerg to play defensive if you invest heavily into it, and then you can just kind of do what you want behind it if you are doing it well.
So harassing Adepts or Adepts staying
Yeah,
at home? And
yeah, like a lot of
Okay,
Adepts
okay.
attacking. You don't have to like all in with it, but you probably make more depending on how well you're doing. And there's, I don't know, as a Zerg's perspective, I feel like there's a huge difference between someone who really does know how to use Adepts and someone who doesn't. Like for a long time, if I played just like ladder games, I played against somebody who goes Adepts, it wouldn't feel very hard. And then suddenly I play someone like Neeb, and he would destroy me with Adepts, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
I see.
Yeah, it's a very high skill and reactive unit with the shade ability, where you can either commit to a shade or cancel the shade, so you have like juke potential and stuff. And that's a big part of what makes StarCraft fun, is when people have that like on the fly decision making where they can make those fast pivots. And that's the issue with the Void Ray, is it's a unit that can't really do that. It's like an air roach, where it's just really good value, really good damage, really good health for what it does, and it just goes in a spot and just that's like, okay. Like if it kills a base, it more of like has a sinking and sad feeling for whoever's base got killed, rather than, wow, look at that Void Ray player, they flew over to the main and they're to the main.
Whoa!
Micro.
I think we're gonna have a lot of due to the PTSD effect of the Void Rays we had the past years, is pretend to go Void Rays into 8 gateways, or like all of those dirty strategies you can go behind right now. But again, that is diversity, that is change. And yeah, I agree with the fact that for me, Adept is the best opening for Protoss in terms of choices they can have after it, because they can they have the robos, they can go Robo Bay. They already have the Templar Archives, not Templar Archive, they can research Blink, they want to go Blink, they can have Charge. They have basically everything open to themselves besides Stargate if it comes to Mutalisk. But it's the most round up way to open and be active on the map, and not necessarily be in a dangerous position, because you always have the War Prism, which forces Zerg to stay at home as well. So it's the best way to play. But I don't think the Void Ray opening is completely over. So you can have the fake Void Rays, and you can have the people who will commit to it 100%. The faithful one, the Zealots, you could kill them.
Yeah.
Now, Stefano, actually, I want to see what your take is on the Queen nerf, the no longer transfuse off creep. I play Zerg as well, as everybody knows. I'm going to leave my opinions on it outside, but what did you think about that? Is that too far? Is that appropriate? What is that actually responding to? Is that because Queen walks are just too good?
I don't know. I don't know. I just disagree with it because it was for me one of the only way as Zerg could be aggressive in the early game. Maybe it was too effective. Okay, so nerf maybe the energy it cost of creep or something like that. But yeah, we don't have any anti-air in early game, and we can't really all in if we don't have anti-air against Banshees or against Oracles or against Void Rays. We can't really move out on the map. So we need a unit which can survive an attack, and it goes a bit slow, or maybe reduce the speed at which it moves, so more reaction time from the opponent. But right now, it just makes it completely useless to move out with creep who have energy. It does feel like a huge waste, and you don't have the certitude that they will survive. For me, it just removes an aspect of the game which was not the prettiest one, but exciting in the sense that there was stress on both sides when this was happening, and it was an all-in basically. And what kind of all-in we have left right now? It's just Nidus, and that's why they did the Nidus buff kind of with a creep around it, so the Queen can transfuse. But that's the only way we can use Queens offensively now. I don't know. I don't know. It just forces Zerg to play more mid-game, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people that are saying like, oh, well, you just have to bring dropper lords with you, drop creep, you just have to make a Nidus. Like, I feel like they're almost oversimplifying it. Do you think that's going to be a viable way to get Queens sort of to still do those all-ins, is to actually just bring stuff that drops creep and then maybe drop a few creep tumors, or is that just really not going to be viable, you think?
I don't think you hit at a timing at that stage, or it's going to be a very committed all-in, because you need to be on 3 bases, and you need to have a lair, and you need to have overall speed, and you need to have enough queens, even though like one of your building is taking. So I don't know how this is technically possible to hit a proper timing with enough queens and all of that happening at the same time. I don't know. For me, a better direction would have been to increase either the energy it takes for queens to transfuse off creep. I know it seems weird and a bit gimmicky as a solution, or I was thinking of something else. It just got out of my mind, but I will get it back. I think I will get it back.
Yeah,
But
no
there was
worries. Well, when
something
you
like,
think of it, let us know.
yeah.
I think I agree with you 100% that you'll miss all your timings now. I think the only way you could even potentially hit a timing that would be relevant with it anymore, it would be also, I feel like you'd only do it against Stargate Opener as well. Like you would never do it against Robo or Council. But if you brought a drone with you and you just made a hatchery and you just cancel it and put a creep tumor like right in front of the base and try to like push it forward, I feel like would be the only possible way that would still work, because you could do that layerless. Yeah, you can do it layerless.
You can make a hatch, cancel it, and the queen will walk over to that little creep patch in time to put a tumor down?
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
he means like as the attack is arriving, you get the drone to make a hatch and then cancel it, and there is a little spot of creep.
Yeah, just like
that's what
you can cancel a hatchery if you start it and you cancel it. You can walk the cream where it was canceled right then and put a creep tumor down.
They'll make it fast enough though, because there's like a couple of space. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay, because I know you could do that. Like you build a hatch and then immediately make like a spine crawler or something like that, because there is a little bit of creep. I just didn't know the queens were fast enough to actually get to that little patch of creep before it went away.
But yeah, fast enough. But the execution is going to be extremely hard to make it work.
I agree.
Because all they have to do is snipe the cryptomers which is building, and the queens will be around the hatchery, so not necessarily in a good position to attack all the units at the same time. I don't know, it feels like it's a lot of effort for something which can be denied in a quarter of a second with a right click and then go back. So, and usually like the opponent will be aware that this is coming, or like the attack is coming, so he will have a sort of presence on the map, because you don't have any fungals, you don't have any anti-air at that stage, so he's pretty free to roam the map and kind of stay ahead of the army and see what's happening. It's a nice solution to the problem, but to execute it is going to be pretty complicated, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, either people are just trying to like cling to the queen walk because we've just got so used to it. At some point, do we just need to figure something else out though?
There's
Well,
nothing else
with
to
the
figure. Either we can attack early
Yeah.
game, or we
Yeah.
can't. Without the queen walk, we can't basically.
Mhm.
Or against, I guess, like Void Rays opening or Benches opening, or it just nullifies it completely, I guess.
Okay, fair
yeah,
enough.
the patch overall is moving the game away from the direction of being cheesy by both having a battery nerf and a queen walk nerf at the same time.
Less all in, at least maybe going up to like 3 base and layer tech for Zerg, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe going up to at least Robo Bay for Protoss. But okay, so now let me ask you about this actually to you, Vindicta, because obviously a lot of us are Zerg here, and we're like, wait, hold on, if you build a hatchery, we can put a creep tumor, all this stuff. I actually wanted to ask you a couple of questions specifically from the Terran point of view of this. I know we kind of got a little bit of like, hey, the drilling clause, what's that mean? Dark Templar change, is that because of the kind of planetary sniping that was happening, or is that like, am I totally off on that? Do you
That's
think?
100% true. There's like I
Okay.
think every single Terran player literally complaining about that. So no surprise there. It's like pretty easy to like obviously just snipe a base. There was I can't remember who it was. I think it was Showtime. Somebody mentioned like in TVP, just like losing a base in general can be very very bad for you, and it's pretty easy to lose them, right? Like if I'm taking a fourth against Protoss, taking a fourth, and then like I don't accommodate enough defense on my planetary, and it just instantly dies. Like it's already like really really hard to play from that scenario.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was a huge thing people were complaining about. It feels pretty nice, not gonna lie. I don't know how it'll affect the matchup. I feel like not too bad, hopefully. But also too, I did want to say like there's a lot of tournaments coming up. Like
Mhm.
actually Pig slid into my Discord DMs and he was like, "Oh yeah, I have this tournament going on." He linked the bracket. So there's gonna be a bunch of like stuff. I know Wardy did one too.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be nice to see like what people come up with. But yeah, just like going back to the same thing we were just talking about earlier, like quality of life changes, stuff that doesn't seem like it's gonna break the game, but stuff that it just deals with the annoying things that are going on. And at least to me, like it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I don't know how Blink DTs work in PvZ. I don't think I've seen it too much. I think I just see void rays and carriers. So
Yeah.
maybe it won't change too much there.
Yeah, I mean, whether there's blink or whether there's not blink, it doesn't seem to affect the late game PvZ that much. It's usually from what I can tell, it's either the Dark Templar get in there and they're gonna kill a hatchery and they're gonna kill all the drones and maybe one of your side bases because you don't have detection, you don't have static defense there, or they're not. Like it's just gonna be one of the two. I don't know that blink really factored in too much for us in late game
Sometimes
PvZ.
maybe on Great Aspires, something like that could
Oh,
be.
true. Okay.
Sometimes it's really not often to speak about it, but yeah. And I guess Darren, I guess you have it on like you have a double drop ship full of army and like 10 DTs. They just like blink in, kill all your marines suddenly, like with one shot. You have a bit more time to react to that, I guess now. But yeah, it's a good change, I think. Protoss won't complain about it because I guess they will complain about it because they have to, but it's a good change for the matchup here.
I'm legally obligated to complain about this change.
Yeah, inside I think it's fine, but we didn't get any buffs, so I have to complain about it. Sure, that's understandable. And I wanted to actually get your opinion on the lurker change, Vindicta, because we're seeing lurkers way more in ZVT than I would say any other matchup right now. They've kind of, I don't know that they've fallen out in ZVP, but it just so often that air transition Protoss seem to be so good at it now. We're seeing lurker play, I think, less and less, or more committed lurker play less and less. But it's still like alive and well in ZVT. So is this change like, is this enough of a change, you think, to start dealing with lurkers a bit better? What is your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think it's like a really similar issue to you guys are talking about how in like the pro level, like maybe dealing with late game Stargate armies not too terrible, but you know, like in the lower levels, like it can be really difficult to deal with. So like the thing about lurkers is just like I think at the lower leagues, people have a lot of trouble following the lurkers around and keeping up with them, and it's kind of like getting out of position, and you know, it can be very unrewarding, like to just kind of suddenly set up into your natural and stuff like that. So I think that's like the biggest issue. I think at the higher levels, or at least for me in my personal experience, I always felt like as long as I can keep up with my vision and like see where the lurkers are going, I can more or less keep up. And you know, like I have to admit, like ghosts are fine. It's just more so like how you use them against the lurkers. You know, like it's really easy to just see them and then you want to shoot all of them at the same time, but you can't really do that. So it just feels like it's a little bit of a high skill ceiling issue to deal with. And then like I think from what I remember correctly, it's like not too big of it's not too noticeable either, like the burrow difference. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a massive change, but I was just curious. Is it like, would you have even gone farther than that? Like, do you think lurkers are a problem for Terrans right now, or is it kind of comfortable and this minor tweak is like enough? Or
no, I just think it's that. I think it's just the burrow speed thing. Like they're just, I think in my opinion they were just too mobile. And I think just slowing them down a little bit just makes them, like I said, easier to like deal with and like keep up with. But yeah, I think we should still be seeing lurkers, and I think it's pretty cool to play against them. I like playing the later games, so for me it's kind of fun. But I can definitely understand, and even for me, like as much as I have fun too, there's some moments where I'm just like get kind of triggered by it. But
sure.
I think it's just everybody, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think
Zerg-
the issue is the lurker is supposed to feel like a siege unit, but they can just run in and face check armies by burrowing so fast. It kind of feels like the decision to burrow becomes inconsequential once they have the burrow speed upgrade. So it's going to force Zerg to be more deliberate about where they put them down.
That
Take the
never
push a little
happens
bit
though.
slower.
At the highest level, it never happens. Like going fully in and burrowing. There's always a defensive position with Widow Mines, with Ghost well positioned. It's just about reaction time. And, like I'm not against the change. I don't think it will make a difference. To be honest, not that much. Because usually you have the links and the bendings in the front, leading the charge, allowing the lurkers to get into position to burrow, and then go back with the rest of the ground army. But I don't think it was an issue to counteract the fact that lurkers would just go to melee range, burrow, and kill an army instantly. That would happen now or before, just if the guy is not keeping track of the army, basically. Like it doesn't really change that much. Like the 0.3 seconds, I'm not sure I'm not sure. To be honest, I didn't test it out. So I'm speaking just purely.
Right. Well, I think basically all of us are just, we're kind of looking at it. We're trying to piece these things together in our head. I haven't played it all on the PTR. I don't know if you guys have, but I know there hasn't been any PTR tournaments yet. Like Vindicta was saying, there's a lot of them scheduled just to kind of mess around with it and see. So we could be completely off the, who knows really, but we're just trying to do our best and think about it logically. One thing I did want to ask actually Vindicta as well is Stephano said this a little bit earlier where, you know, that threat of queen pushes is almost entirely gone. I mean, again, you can do some of these gimmicky things that are really hard to execute. Is that going to open up any play for Terran, you think? Or are Terran really happy TVZ right now where it is, like in the early to mid game? Was the queen threat really not that big of a deal? Or you think there are builds that might come? Are we going to see like maybe more Banshee stuff? Like going past 2 Banshees? Could we go more? What do you think on that?
I think generally speaking, it doesn't change much. Really, it would only, like, the only thing that could really happen is if like you literally just like leave your queens off creep and like to get caught. You know what I mean? At least in my experience, that rarely happens. But then again, like I guess I'm playing better people, so I feel like it's not going to change much there. But I guess I could see a situation like maybe have 8 Hellions and then there's like 3 queens off creep and you just kind of like maybe surround them and then they can't leave, and it's like that feels nice because I think it's a bit more rewarding to get those off creep, because I know sometimes too like they will be off creep and then you can't really do anything about it because of the energy. So they kind of just live either way. But honestly, yeah, like that scenario doesn't really happen too much. At least at the pro levels, so I don't really think it changes too much.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I would say against Protoss, like a lot of times if you use queens, you would tend to like queen walk it a lot of times, especially for like Stargate stuff. But against Terran, I feel like a lot of times you're going to use queens there. You would just Nidus it. And I feel like the Nidus buff is not like dramatic. It's not like it's, oh my god, it's going to change everything. But I feel like it does help with the queens have a little bit more validity there to like actually have creep all day and go into the base and stuff if you're Nidusing.
Well, they have to have that change now, right? Otherwise, queens would not be able to transfuse it. I don't think, right? Like that's the reason for it.
Yeah, like you're talking about, like like if it's gonna get sniped, like right as it pops out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that I actually hadn't because the Nidus it spreads creep pretty quickly, but now it's gonna just start with one unit, right? Like it's done, boom, creep's already down. From my understanding of how that change is supposed to work.
Yeah, I tried it against Uppetry. We did a couple customs on the patch, and it's noticeable that there's a little bit more creep there, but obviously that creep is not going to kill a player. It's just you have a little bit more room to micro around and places to put your creep tumor and stuff as you exit the Nidus. But yeah, a fairly small change. I think the main thing which I didn't try would be you could do a new version of the Queen Walk where you kind of do the same thing, and kind of similar to ViBE's idea with the canceled hatchery, you just make a Nidus network, you put a Nidus forward, and then you creep around it, and then you can more or less Queen Walk as normal, transfusing your stuff. It means that it's not going to be as much value on the field because you're trading whatever number of Ravagers you would have had with the Queen Walk for the Nidus entrance and the Nidus exit. So it still is a weakened Queen Walk, but you could still do it if you're stubborn.
Yeah, and I think one of the major things I hadn't even really thought about that Stephano touched on is now you would have to have layer tech for any of the Queen Walks to be successful, because you would need to drop creep. Well, I guess not the hatchery one. Okay, so not all of them, but that one is the most, I think, difficult to execute. I agree with that. There was a lot of people have been saying that this queen change might make ZVZ a little awkward for some of the 13-12 or really aggressive Ling pushes. ViBE, I think I caught a clip of you actually talking about this as well, where Zerg, oftentimes the way that they'll hold a lot of those is they'll put 2 queens on the ramp, but there's, I think, like half of the maps, there's not actually creep on the ramp. So are you just going to have to go for a creep tumor? Is that going to totally screw over ZVZ now? Are we going to be cheesed every single game? Or like,
yeah, I feel like it would.
Yeah.
Like if your queens are actually in a spot where they do block the ramp, but they can't be on creep to transfuse, your queens would absolutely die if you're getting like massively all in. So I feel like you'd have to. I don't think you have to like change your build entirely. I don't think it's like, oh, you have to go pull first now. It's not like that extreme, but you might have to be more creative about how like you set up your natural. Maybe you try to just SimCity in a way where you can like actually set up a position that's actually closer to the hatch or something. Or I guess you could do like drone pulls where maybe you could like send drones through queens. But then again, if you're fighting Banes, it's probably the worst idea in the world. Maybe a spine might be a thing now, like every time. I'm not sure. But yeah, if it's a map where your queens are isolated off creep, it's definitely going to make it way harder.
Is like going for a creep tumor first at all an option, or is that just going to run?
You could do that, but that means one of your queens will die and your ramp will break every time because you'll never have enough time to get both transfuse like that.
Yeah, chat's asking about the procedure if you have enough energy to transfuse. Basically, if you're against the earliest cheeses with Lings and Banes in ZVZ, you want to get your 2 queens, if you're doing a hatch first build, to the ramp as fast as possible. And sometimes you do that before you inject with them, just because there isn't enough time. If you inject with both queens at the bases, then they can take your ramp, and then you're basically in a super bad spot. So if you just pull the 2 queens to the ramp, in the past you could transfuse, but with the nerf, creep might not be there in time. So the queens may just be like tanking and shooting stuff, but not able to heal each other one time.
And even if you put a creep tumor, it would mostly be on the ramp, not on the high ground, right? So one Bennick detonating would kill the creep tumor, and then you can't transfuse anymore, possibly. Because you can't really go back and put the creep there. So you have to stay in position and put the tumor on the ramp, and yeah. But I don't think it's gonna change dramatically, I think, but it's gonna make it stronger for sure, stronger.
You might find a couple of very map specific, like 13-12 Speedling, Baneling all-ins that are kind of catch you off guard. Yeah.
1312 was
I'm
really popular a while back, but I don't see it
Yeah.
that often. So if it comes out a little bit more, I think that's fine.
okay. I mean, we've gone through a lot of the changes. We've talked it to death. One of the last sort of specific topics I had on this was: is there any change that you guys think was overlooked? Something you guys think should have been changed, should have been tweaked, or if you just had full control of the patch, would you have made a specific, like a different change? I don't necessarily have anyone in particular. I'm asking this question too. So if you have something, I would love to hear about it. Personally, I would have loved with the because again, I'm more of a I like buffs. When I see buffs in StarCraft 2, like I just get excited, regardless if it's for Zerg, regardless if it's for Terran or Protoss. So I would have loved to actually see for Protoss a buff to maybe one of their ground units, so it felt a little bit easier to swallow all of these nerfs. Maybe that's going too far. Maybe everything is perfect and they didn't need that though. But maybe something to the Immortal to make it a little bit more movable, or maybe even like a move speed increase with them. I'm not sure exactly, but I'm curious what you guys think. Is there any sort of other nerfs or other buffs you would have done with this patch if you had full control?
Chat's call of the Roombas, correct. The
the
Roombas blocking
Roombas.
our bases. I have declared war on the Roomba Nation for blocking my natural. There was a time when I died to 2 Adept harass because my natural was late because the Roomba was in the way and my creep wasn't done in time. Oh, man.
So you
Never
want to like
forget it.
double the amount of Roombas, right?
I don't know.
It's just laziness, Neuro there. Just laziness. You click it fast enough, it goes away.
I'm trying to talk to my chat and entertain, and I look at my natural expansion and there's a fucking robot in the way. Jeez.
Yeah, those are. What is it, like 20 clicks you have to do on those to blow them up? I don't even. I
Something
think
like
that's
that.
right.
The
Something like
issue
that.
is
You just gotta up your
can't-
APM, man.
You can't rapid fire it. You have to actually do manual clicks. There's no way to rapid fire it because it's not a.
Yeah,
It's not
actually,
an
I tried
ability,
this.
just a left click.
I tried
And
this.
you can't rebind the left click. I think I tried to look through it, and there's no way to rebind the left click.
I don't think
Really?
you can either. Yeah, I don't think you can either.
Yeah,
Oh man.
because I was thinking about it to put it on the rapid fire key, and so yeah, you go away. But no, you have to live with them or do 20 clicks.
Oh, that's insane. I never had thought about that. Vindicta, what were you saying?
I've seen people do this like on streams. Like click
Uh-huh.
on it a bunch of times and it dies, and I was like, wow, it's so cool. Let me try it. I legit couldn't do it. I was clicking it so many times and it wouldn't die, and I gave up. I was just staring at my screen, clicking this little robot on my natural, and it wouldn't go away.
You probably gave up. You gave up like right at 19. It's like one
Yeah,
more.
it
it's
was almost
20 or
one.
one away. Yeah, it's more than you think it should be, because you have to just you have to be committed to clicking it. Okay, so the Roomba change, sure. Any other changes you guys would have done?
I've actually always
Yeah.
thought about one change. It's not as dramatic today as it used to be back in like Wings of Liberty. But one thing I always hated about Terran is that a Terran player can make a lot of orbital commands and they can drop a mule anywhere on the map that they want. And there's no risk involved when you have all your orbitals tucked back in your base and you have a map wide range of mule drop. I always wanted there to be like some type of a range check on a mule so that if you actually want to mule the crap out of a mineral line, you have to have more risk by having your orbitals nearby or like somewhat nearby. But I mean, like I said, it used to be a bigger problem than it is nowadays. It's still annoying, but I have like a deep hatred for the mule for that reason. But
Okay.
it's something I've always hated about Terran. I hate because like it's very annoying when if you ever play a Terran and like let's say it was like back in the day like a Tal'Darim Malter map or something, a map with like 20 bases, and they drop one random command center at a base and they just mule dump like 700 energy worth of mules onto it, and then if you don't catch it as it starts, if you let's say you catch it 30 seconds late or 20 seconds late, it's just like a jackpot of minerals into their bank, and even if the command center dies, they just do it again later. It was I've always hated that.
Orbital spam definitely still a thing today. I know most late game Terrans just that's where the money goes. Vindicta, what do you think?
It doesn't.
On
It doesn't
vibes
sound.
change.
It doesn't sound. It doesn't sound bad. I mean, like the thing about the orbitals is like I feel like this was more of an issue before, but like when was it? There was like I think maybe 2019. Like the Zerg late game army was like really really good, and then like something that I was doing was like massing a bunch of orbitals so I could throw away all my SCVs so that my army was better so that I could actually win a fight. But I could see that. I could see that being a thing. The thing is though, is like you drop that many mules, but how many of them actually mine? You know, like they mine the mineral and then what? Like how many times do they make it into the command center? You know, I feel like I always lose a lot of minerals because like there's like a bunch of mules at the end that don't make it to the command center, and that's like half of the mineral patch. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
No,
where
I-
it doesn't
it-
finish the actual
Like a
Just
timer.
one
Yeah,
part.
it dies with the minerals in its hand and stuff.
Yeah.
Lost to the ether.
That's
Okay,
only
so
5 minerals per time that happens, though, right?
35, no?
No, they get mules mine way more than just 5 at a time.
They hold 35?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
hold a massive amount.
Oh,
you
yeah,
not
nerf
know that?
mules. Holy crap.
You thought it was just like an extra SCV, like, oh yeah, they just get 1 SCV. No, it's like 3 per mule or something like that.
Oh my god.
We
Yeah,
go back to the
mules are-
Protoss conversation. I don't want to hear about orbitals getting nerfed.
Yeah, let's
Can't handle
nerf
this right now.
mules, man. Yeah. Let's make mules cost supply. Hey, there we go. Easy change, easy fix.
That'd be a little bit crazy.
But I think people went into this patch feeling like TVZ was pretty good, no? Like it's a pretty good matchup.
Oh, for sure. I'm not. I
Yeah.
honestly like that change nowadays. I'm not really like full all for it. Like I said, like when I started it, it's something I used to hate way more on bigger maps than I do nowadays. It's a lot more manageable now to actually catch a Terran trying to expand every time they do it now. Whereas back in the day, you could hide bases all over the map in so many spots, and it was super annoying when they could do that.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Like imagine like what is it, whirlwind?
Yeah, no,
Just like
exactly.
face in the corner,
Yeah,
like 45 mules, and by the time you
Yep.
see it, it's gone.
yeah, it was super annoying. I've actually lost like tournament games to that shit, but it always annoyed the crap out of me every time it happened.
And mules don't actually cause I don't know even to call this, but the workers to not stack 2 to a patch, right?
Yeah, they
can be
ignored, yeah.
they ignore that mechanic, yeah. So you can't
Yeah.
actually just have like 500 somewhere if you had enough energy. And
Oh, no,
and they'd be
you have
offline.
only 1 mule per mineral patch working at a time.
Yeah,
They don't stack on the
Oh,
same
okay.
mineral patch. But they can have like... But it's hard to have an efficient trip. Like, they are wasting time if you have more than 1 on the mineral patch.
Oh, okay,
They-
I
they
got you.
move
So you
faster
wouldn't want to
than
go.
the
I
CVs, I
see.
think.
Got it. Okay. All right, interesting. Yeah, I would say overall, I haven't heard really any complaints of TVZ, ZVT, whichever.
this has always been my
Mindset you
gripe.
have.
It's definitely not a common gripe. It's mine. It's my own personal vendetta against mules.
I
For me,
mean,
the essential game feature, like Terran are stuck in a way in the late game against Zerg, so much creep spread, so hard to expand, and they move slowly, and their bases mine up faster because they're using the mules on them early on. So they need to catch up eventually. The Zerg is mining the opponent's base at some point, and the Terran has to be able to mine faster the base he gets so he can go to the next one and the next one. And if the game is active enough, usually he will spend most of his energy on scans and not mules. So it really depends on the dynamic of the game. But yeah, if it's a very passive game, it can feel unfair. If you can't break them and stuff. But that would be mostly due to the Zergs not being good enough to break him, right? Or to force him to do moves, I guess.
force him
Yeah,
to scan.
the only time that I feel stuck is when the ghost count gets really high and they just defend and just like rapid fire snipe your stuff as you go in. Obviously, a better player can engage with that or keep moving elsewhere on the map because ghosts aren't super fast.
Mhm.
Fast enough.
Yeah, when it gets to Ghost Mech, I'll say that as well. I mean, again, I'm only in Masters. I'm not playing at the highest levels of StarCraft 2. I do, at that point, kind of just go, man, I actually don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm so confused as to how I actually win this game from this point. And I don't think I've done it yet. I think I've always lost against if they get a really solid setup. And that more than likely is exactly what Stephano was saying, where, hey, you probably didn't do enough in the early and mid game, and now you're paying the consequences for it. But yeah, maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe from my master's brain, if I had to make a change, I would probably, I don't know, do I touch ghosts? Would Terran players hate me too much? Is it worth the flack I would get?
Would hate you, yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right, well then maybe never mind. I can't, My
Mine
conscience
would
can't take it.
be a discussion on. It's not a wine complaint or a balance complaint.
Mhm.
It's a design complaint on carriers. I don't think they are good the way they are made. Not imbalanced, it's fine,
Mhm.
but it's just a boring way to play the late game. And the more you try to do on macro carriers, the less you achieve. The only thing you can do is pre-attack a unit so they you exit all the interceptors. But basically after that, the best thing to do is just to wait and let it happen. And I don't feel like it's a good way or a good unit design. Like Tempest, it's interesting because they have range and speed, but low health. So it creates or it forces the Protoss to be very diligent on them and looking at them and being very careful with them. Carriers in a big ball with Storm, you just wait for the interceptor to get out, and then you just focus on storming. Like you don't actually actively macro the carriers anymore. While the other races, when you have like BCs, you will try to move them away, Yamato or TP away. Broadlords, you will have to attack and go back so that they don't get sniped by the Tempest. Like every major battleship has a kind of feature where they have to attack and go back or be microed a little bit. Carriers is the more you try to move and attack or micro, the less you achieve. And for me, there's an issue with that. So it's not a balanced wine; it's a design wine. I want to say,
You
Yeah, it's
think
a
I don't know what you
composition that
think.
doesn't reward good micro.
Yeah,
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
one of the frustrating points for Zerg in that context is it feels like the late game Protoss army is like 100 times easier to use than the Zerg army that's supposed to fight that. Because like Stephano was saying, the carriers take care of themselves. If you have Void Rays too, you just say move those. Maybe you push the button on them. But aside from that, you just then select your High Templar and feedback stuff and Storm stuff, and that's about all you do. And everything moves kind of at a slow, similar pace as well. So you don't really have to manage like these units are faster, so I have to pull them back and make sure their formation is good. It all kind of flows together as a nice clump that kills everything.
I mean, and maybe this is asking too much. What would be the change you guys would try to make to carriers to make them more microable? Because I feel like that both is a frustration for people on the ladder who are playing because it's they don't have to do anything. Exactly what Stephano was saying. They just sit back, attack stuff, and now they just focus on Storm. But then also conversely, it's the same complaint from a different side. I feel in pro play where I can't do anything. Like I have this APM, I can do much more than this, but I can't micro my carriers because there's literally nothing I can do about it. And so you'll get into situations where it feels like more of that micro ceiling on Protoss than the other races, which maybe that's one of the reasons why they're really not winning too much stuff right now. Is Protoss just as a race not super designed well, or is it just that unit and I'm reading too much into it?
in the late game, the skill ceiling is very limited for Protoss. Once you are past the stage where you can start doing multitask with Warplanes of Zealots, attacking with the Grand Army and stuff, the only move you have in late game is mothership on a side, main army on a side, and teleport your army to your mothership. It's like very simple things like that. And there's no execution which is particularly hard to do that will help you get a better outcome out of the fight. And I honestly don't have the answer for carriers.
Yeah.
I do not know what should be done. If it's the AI unit prioritization, what does it attack in priority? Should it change to be less effective, or should it be forced to be released a little bit slower so it forces them to pre-attack a unit, or like I don't know. I don't have a good solution. It has to be a discussion, and I feel like the Protoss would be happy to have that discussion as well, because they do want to deliver more, but they're not able to do so. And sometimes the fight just feels not boring in a way, but they could have won in a more classy way, if you know what I mean. Like it could have been a better struggle or a better.
Yeah, I think by classy you mean multifaceted, where their approach involves more steps, where they're playing with a higher tempo than the opponent. It feels like the late game sky toss end game is like you're playing a lower tempo and just you have stronger stuff than them and they can't stop you. But you're not really like outmaneuvering them and outpacing them in your decision making. You're sitting at home with the good stuff.
Well, hopefully we get to see some change. I think that's one of the kind of one of the nice things. Obviously, the patch itself is very nice, but that also opens up the floodgates of, hey, maybe we'll get another one eventually. Hopefully, we get it a little quicker than 3 years, but I mean, I guess beggars can't be choosers. Vindicta, I'm giving you the magic pen, my friend. You can make any patch note change you want. Are you loving exactly where the game is right now, or is there something you would write into existence?
Yeah, probably change carriers. I think carrier,
Okay.
like Stephano mentioned, like the unit design is pretty flawed, and I think it's like been a pretty big topic of discussion recently. I think for similar reasons, so like in TVP, I think it's another issue for like a lot of people at lower MMRs, lower levels, like dealing with carriers. I think it's like super hard. There's also a lot of micros, like a higher micro ceiling for it. I think that's kind of like pretty lame. I'm not gonna call out anybody specifically, but we have some Stargate memers out there riding the waves. But yeah, I think besides that, nothing too much. I would have said the Queen, to be honest. At some point, I probably would have said the Queen, but I think like with the change they already made, I think it's okay. Although I'm not too sure how I feel about it, like with the tumor or the transfuse, sorry. But yeah, just because the Queen, like again for like a unit design thing, it's just like I feel like they should have gave Zerg an actual anti-air unit, maybe before the layer, because I think it's kind of weird that it's like use it for macro, use to spread creep, use it for defensive purposes, but then it's also being used for offensive purposes. So it's kind of like I don't know. I think it does too much, but yeah, I don't think carriers are worse though.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm going to change my answer. I know everyone is like, carriers, fix Protoss as a race, get their design nicely. Nah, I'm going to think selfishly. I want to be able to cancel creep tumors again. Let me do that. Revert that change. Bring me back cancelable creep tumors. That's what I want.
Would be the one change you would put in the game if you had the choice.
That's the one change.
What a
Yep,
waste
that's all.
of it! What a
That's
waste
all
of
I
a
want.
change!
Do you know how much I hate when I accidentally click and it's a creep tumor and I just make it like literally 2 feet to the left? Oh, I hate it so much. Oh, I hate it so much. It drives me insane.
Yeah, but then you have to work on yourself. It's about acceptance on what you can't control sometimes. Just be happy with it. Live with it.
Okay, fine. I'll use these powers for the greater good. I guess I can change Protoss.
Stephano says creep spread is a process of self-reflection.
That
I like it.
That must be why mine is so one-sided to like one side of the map and the other side is completely untouched.
I've got to change.
Yeah, okay, hit me with it.
All right, people complaining about carriers. I've been saying this for a couple years, but I'm just going to keep putting it out there. A research upgrade that allows you to load your spores with Banelinks that do AoE to air.
Oh no. Oh no.
When the carriers come in, interceptors flying out of them, load up the spores, a couple
Bravo.
of Banes, and they're dead. The carriers aren't dead, but you killed all the interceptors.
This is exactly why none of us were involved in this whole balance discussion.
Yeah, I think we figured it out, guys.
Too
Okay,
easy,
get
Neuro.
this.
Too easy. Too simple, no?
It costs supply, and you have to load it in, and you have to research something.
Yeah,
It
so
would be really funny.
4 supply to neglect 60 supply or 10. 8 main leagues is
It's a
enough.
Zerg buff. It's a Zerg buff for sure.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you think it's a little bit of a buff, huh? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What a humble take you have on the matter. It's a little bit of a buff.
Yeah.
Man, if you could make okay, all right. Since we're basically at the end here, I'm curious. So we've heard of Neuro's wacky change. If there was, let's say, a drastic change. I know we did the responsibility. Let's fix carriers. Let's make Protoss great again, kind of deal. If you had to implement some sort of crazier change, is there one you would do, like spores that can load up Banes? I think introducing Scourge back would be really cool, personally. from Brood War. I think adding that unit would be kind of sick for Zerg. But do you guys have any like insane changes you would go for? Like just to really shake the game up, like make it super different than it is right now.
Remove air.
Remove air?
all air.
Beside Overlords, yeah. Let's go.
All ground based? Holy smokes. Besides Overlords though, so Overlords, would there still be Dropper Lords? Like could I still fly around with them?
I mean, like Medivacs and Medivacs, Dropper Lords, but
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
no fighting air unit. Fuck that.
Mm.
Let's fight on the
Stone
ground.
Age StarCraft.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Man, I'm trying to just wrap my head around what the heck that would even look like.
That's crazy though, yeah.
That would be insane. Yes. I think you've taken the writing prompt to heart and I appreciate it. ViBE Vindicta, any last words on some insane change you would go for? Or what are you even talking about? Just fix the game and make it normal again.
I would allow Ultralists to have a third upgrade on the Ultra Cavern, which allows them to ram a wall and become a ramp. So that your army can run. You can it would be like a ramp upgrade, and you could just run into the wall full speed like a charge, and then it becomes a ramp that Zerglings can climb. And you can just like backdoor somebody's base.
What? Yes. Okay.
That'd be sick.
Wow. I don't think, given 100 changes, I would have come up with that. That's insane. They'd make like an ant bridge in a way.
They become super viable because like ultras become complete garbage when your opponent's super turtly. Like they just don't really find damage or value, and if you had that, you could actually make a couple of them and get crazy value.
Are your Zerglings oppressed by Turtle, Terran, and Protoss? Research the Ultralisk on-ramp today.
And Vindicta, last call. You can make like I would love to see if I had to make a change for Terran to make like a transformer where you combine like a Hellion, a Viking, a Medivac, and a Thor into one super mech unit. But I don't know. What would you do? Would you do anything weird?
You know, this is not as memey, kind of memey, but not as memey. But Terran actually needs like better static defense. So something better, like in the campaign, they had that like turret on top of the bunker, something like that, but it does like way more damage. Because actually, Terran static defense is trash. I don't care what you guys say about planetaries; they're literally the worst thing ever. And it's like it's just bad. So yeah, we need something like that. Get me on the team. Get me on the bounce team, so I can help them out.
Okay,
Thank
Microsoft, you've heard it here first. We're all available if you want any of our incredible ideas and you want our assistance with balancing StarCraft 2 in the future. Hit us up. No. Listen to us. We're really great. We're doing a great job here.
There was a patch where they buffed static for Terran where you could lift up a command center and load everything into it out of existence, and it would just fly into the opponent's base and kill everything with just like random Marines shooting out of the windows.
Yeah, that was called the 2-base bathtub all
Yeah.
That was such a great day on Ladder.
Load up your command center with a fully loaded bunker of Marines.
Yeah.
That was so insane. That was so great. Tell me you won some games doing that, Vindicta, please.
I think I woke up one morning and I saw like a clip. Can't remember what. Maybe it was Geothermal, and there was a Marine shooting out of the bunker, and it was absolutely amazing. But I think I had school that day, so I couldn't play.
You
Absolutely
missed a good day.
tragic.
Just load up your school into the command center.
Yeah, load it up.
And you can still play.
All right, fantastic. I can see we have truly devolved into into something. I'm not even quite sure, but I appreciate you guys so much for joining me on this episode. As always, guys, if you would like to support the Pylon Show, please check us out on Patreon. That is patreon.com/thepylonshow. We'll be doing a revamp to that actually coming here pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that in the future. And we always go to our Patreon questions, so if you do support us on Patreon, you can submit your own questions that we're contractually obligated to answer. So we only have a couple here today, but I would love it if you guys could input what you think on this. But our first question here comes from Ola. And they say, inside sources say that this patch was supposed to come out before Katowice. That's why there isn't nothing crazy changing. Also, it is the last year of ESL's contract, maybe. So what crazy things would you like to see in the next patch? Oh my gosh, we actually already answered this question. That's how good I am at my job.
Wow.
I think
It's like
I,
you do.
I think I think we literally just we already answered that, Polly. Oh, sorry, Polly. Polly asked this. Their question. They're not Ola. They misspelled Ola though, so it confused me. I am not not really great at reading context. The second question. So Polly, there you go. We answered your question in the episode already. Fantastic. Turtle Pants SC2. So I wanted to ask Artosis how it feels to be the second greatest English commentator in what is now the second best region in StarCraft 2. But since he's not here, I wanted to ask what you guys think about changing force fields to take 2 biles to break. Does the Ravager counter early Protoss? Does the Ravager counter early Protoss ground too well? What do you guys think about that?
You guys can tell me what you think about this, but I feel like one of the easiest counters to force, like I guess maybe this might not apply to like later on force fields, but if we're talking later on, you'll probably have lurkers by then anyways. But like early force fields, if we're talking about like Wings of Liberty styles, where it's like an immortal sentry like push kind of stuff, I feel like if you don't even have to kill force fields. If you just surround Protoss and then you use your bile to kill their army, they can't do anything anyways.
Mm.
So I don't know. I know what you guys think about that, but I feel like that wouldn't really change much in my opinion.
I'm thinking about back in Heart of the Swarm, specifically on certain maps like Catalina, where there were some 1 force field ramps and they could block 2 bases of your stuff out. Man, I'm really glad the
Pain.
Ravager was invented. If it was tuned back a little bit, I could understand that. The Sentry to me doesn't feel like a scary unit in Legacy of the Void because of the Ravager. So maybe it's overtuned, but yeah, I didn't like being force fielded out of my base.
I think the sentry fulfills its role. It's not supposed to be a mass unit as we used to have with the mass sentries immortal, and that's enough to attack. It's a defensive unit. It's a utility unit with scouting, and it does work. So like 1 sentry, 1 adept, 1 shield battery defends pretty much everything on the ground until the first 4 minutes or something, and that's pretty great. And
Mhm.
it scouts. Like what else? It doesn't need to be able to do more, and it doesn't need to exist in the late game or the mid game. I don't know. And like the two buys make a lot harder the sentry drops in the main base, which is very rare, but still can happen with adepts shading. And I think we had a game like that in Katowice where it was a laser against a Korean player. And yeah, shades from the main to the third, to the main to the third with a warp prism with sentries in it. If you have you need two biles to kill a force field, might be a bit too much.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of crazy because that would require literally 400 resources to get rid of 1 force field. I mean, you would have to have having 2 Ravagers there. The only way I could see maybe a change like that is if you maybe significantly decrease the time the force field was there. Then maybe, but I don't know. I think that 2 biles would be too much. That or give some other way to break them, because Zerg right now, unless you have an Ultralisk Scout, which like you were saying, you don't see them in the late game anyways, you can't break them with anything else.
What
I
if
don't
the
think.
sentries could deal damage?
Boo!
They have a tickle beam.
Boo! Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But would you would do that in addition to the 2 biles, or
No, instead of the 2
Okay.
biles.
Oh, okay.
So you would want a sentry as a counter to Mutalisk, yeah?
Sentry is quite good against Muta because of the Guardian Shield already.
Yeah. So we increase the damage of the sentry so they can counter the
Just a
mutas.
one-stop shop. Well, fantastic, guys. Thank you for giving your. Oh, go ahead. Fine.
I was say, what if you didn't increase the damage, but what if you just made the sentry's beam do splash damage?
Oh,
Even better.
Like a tiny amount of damage.
Yeah, like it would
splash?
destroy Zerglings if it'd be like a little mini Hellbat with range.
Okay, no, I don't like this.
It could be like a little chain lightning effect where it hits 3 things.
Yeah, that'd be cool actually.
No, God.
I'm okay with that. The chain lightning one is fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A
Little
chain
zappy
lightning
boys.
Sentry. Little zappy man. Okay.
Yeah.
Vindicta, do you have anything on this one, or are you gonna let? I mean, I guess
He doesn't want sentries, bro.
I don't know. Do you
I
want
can't-
sentries?
I'm not allowed to advocate for Protoss. I'm sorry. So
Oh, okay.
no sentry buff here. Just the wrong show, man. We didn't have any Protoss players. Maybe next time.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, if there are any
unfortunate.
Protoss players who watch this as a VOD or whatever, and you have angry YouTube comments, just let us know. Like, how does Protoss need help? Was this a good patch for them or a terrible patch?
Help us to help you, because again, once Microsoft watches this episode, and they're gonna get to thinking. I'm telling you guys. Just wait until you see the Spore Baneling change, and you'll know that they listened. Okay. But fantastic. That's the only questions we have now, unless I've missed any, Cobra. In which case, feel free to please tell me right now. Otherwise, I think that's going to be it for us today here on the Pylon Show, episode 152. Once again, guys, please go check out Nation War 7. There's still some time to sign up, so I highly recommend it. We'll put some links to that in the chat and in the description as well. Go check out the links that we have to the different Ukraine charities that you can donate to. And yeah, everybody from the Pylon Show to all you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Everybody that joined me here today, Stephano, Vindicta, ViBE, Neuro, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for giving me your time and your energy on talking about the patch. This was super fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Thank
dude.
you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate the invite. Take care of yourselves, chat.
Fantastic. We will see you guys in the next one. Fantastic.
Bye-bye.
GG.
See ya.
Everybody just do a wave at the end and we'll fade to black. It'll look really great, like we coordinated this. Perfect.